Honorable Minister for Higher Education, Government of Kerala, Dr. R. Bindu, President of the function, Reverend Monsignor Dr. Pius Malayakandathil, Manager, Corporate Educational Agency, Diocese of Kodamangalam, Dr. B.S. Ponmudi Raj, Senior Advisor, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, Bangalore. Keynote speaker for the day, Professor Dinesh Singh, former Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi. Dr. M.A. Lal, Member Secretary of State Level Quality Assurance Cell, Kerala. Dr. Thomas K.V., Principal of the Hosting Institution, Nirmala College, Muatuvura. Professor Emmanuel A.J., Vice Principal, Nirmala College, Muatuvura. Dr. Soni Kuriakos, IQAC Coordinator, Nirmala College, Muatuvura. Dr. Dinu Alexander, Convener of the program. Delegates, invitees, and participants from across the country. Nirmala College, Muatuvura greets each and everyone present with the best of the morning and offers a very cordial welcome to the two-day virtual national conference on curriculum designing and transactions under the proposed UGC curriculum framework organized by the Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Nirmala College, Muatuvura in collaboration with the State Level Quality Assurance Cell, Government of Kerala. Ever since its inception, Nirmala College has been educating and empowering young men and women from different strata of our society, aiming at their holistic development. Sunning in the glory of 70 years, Nirmala College celebrates its Platinum Jubilee this year, and playing the host to the event today is truly gratifying to Nirmala College, standing at the vantage point of being re-accredited by NAAC with an A++ grade having a CGP of 3.73. We do hope we conduct the program at a very relevant juncture when a number of higher education institutions in our country line up to get assessed and accredited by NAAC. Once again, expressing Nirmala's gratitude to Lord Almighty for being privileged to open this event here, we welcome all to the commencement ceremony. Dr. Thomas K.V., Principal of Nirmala College, Muatuvura, putting his best foot forward and leading Nirmala to success, the source head of all our accomplishments. I request our Principal, Dr. Thomas K.V., to welcome the distinguished assembly.
A pleasant good morning to one and all. Our beloved manager, the President of the function, Reverend Monsignor Dr. Pius Malayakandathil, NAAC Academic Advisor and Chief Guest of the Day, Dr. B.S. Ponmudi Raj, former Vice Chancellor of Delhi University and keynote speaker, Professor Dinesh Singh, Member Secretary of State Level Quality Assurance Cell, Dr. M.A. Lal, Vice Principal, Professor H.A. Emmanuel, Bursar, Reverend Father Francis Kannadan, Ugc Coordinator, Dr. Soni Kuriakos, eminent speakers, participants, and faculty members from various institutions, organizing committee members, and well-wishers. I have immense pleasure to welcome you all to the two-day National Conference on Curriculum Designing and Transaction under the proposed UGC curriculum framework. As we all know, under the National Education Policy, many universities have decided to adopt four-year undergraduate degree programs with multiple exit and entry options. The Kerala State Higher Education Council had a discussion on NEP 2020 and prepared a report of NEP under the chairmanship of Professor Prabhat Patnaik. However, Kerala State Government has expressed various concerns regarding the implementation of NEP, especially its stance regarding social justice, secularism, and reservations. Our Higher Education Minister, Dr. R. Bindu's stance on NEP is that Kerala State should not remain aloof when the country is moving forward under a single framework of NEP. We are proud of her outlook towards higher education and NEP. But I am sorry to inform you that due to some unexpected urgency at the government level, the minister would not be able to deliver the inaugural address. However, we are fortunate to have Dr. B.S. Ponmudi Raj, the NAAC Academic Advisor, to inaugurate the function and address the gathering. He is a person who is very keen to raise each and every higher education institution into a center of excellence. As part of this, he has visited about 350 colleges and universities in India. He has 28 years of teaching and administrative experience. He has worked in eminent institutions like Christ College, Bangalore, and Loyola College, Chennai. As an international expert, he was the chairman of Accreditation Committee of Department of Architecture, American International University. He is with us today to grace this occasion. I welcome dear Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraj to this function. Our beloved manager, Right Monsignor Dr. Pius Malayakandathil, is a great historian. He served as a professor at various universities, including JNU. He has far insight and vision towards higher education and NEP. We are much privileged to have a manager like him. With immense pleasure and gratitude, I welcome the president of the function, Monsignor Dr. Pius Malayakandathil. Much before the introduction of NEP, during 2014, University of Delhi was on the way to implement four-year degree program under the able leadership of Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Singh. He intended to elevate the UG programs of DU into international standards. Now, after 7 years, what he planned back then is reintroduced through NEP. He believes that the educational curriculum needs to be built based on the expectations and challenges of the society. Today's keynote speaker, Dr. Dinesh Singh, is a special person for me. He was my mathematics professor at University of Delhi, and I have close association with him since then. He is a globally recognized mathematician and educationist and a recipient of many awards, including one of the highest civilian awards, Padma Shri, in 2014. After his graduation from St. Stephen's College, Delhi, and PhD from Imperial College of Science, Technology and Medicine, London, he served as a faculty member at St. Stephen's College, then professor at Delhi University, and became the 21st Vice Chancellor of DU. Also, he is an adjunct professor in University of Houston, USA. He has received honorary doctorates from University of Edinburgh, National University of Ireland, University of Houston, and National Institute of Technology. He was a member of Scientific Advisory Committee in the Union Cabinet of Government of India during 2011 to 18. Presently, he is the Chancellor of K.R. Mangalam University. I welcome my dear professor to this function as a keynote speaker. Kerala Higher Education Department has created a state-level quality assurance cell with a view of motivating higher education institutions to undergo assessment and accreditation. Dr. M.A. Lal, Member Secretary of SLQAC, is also with us to felicitate the gathering. I welcome Dr. M.A. Lal to this conference. I also welcome our Vice Principal, Professor H. Emmanuel, Barsa Reverend Father Francis Kannadan, the Ugc Coordinator, Dr. Soni Kuriakos, and the conveners, Dr. Dinu Alexander and Dr. Jasmine Jose, and the entire team members to this program. We have a panel of eminent resource persons to speak in this national conference. I welcome the eminent speakers, Dr. Kavita K.R., Registrar of Nrdamanga University, Bangalore, Dr. R.C. Sharma, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Delhi, Reverend Dr. Roy Abraham, Director, SIME Bangalore, Dr. Binu Thomas, IQC Coordinator at Marian College Autonomous, Kerala, and Dr. Rubali Aluvelia, St. Aloysius Autonomous College, Madhya Pradesh. I also welcome all delegates, especially principals, teachers, IQC coordinators, and all well-wishers to this national conference. We are proud to announce that this national conference is being conducted with the financial support and cooperation from NAAC, Bangalore, and SLQAC. I welcome and thank NAAC and SLQAC team for the great support. I wish everyone a successful and fruitful conference. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir, and we extend a warm welcome to you too. President of the function, Reverend Dr. Monsignor Pius Malayakandathil, Manager of Corporate Educational Agency, Diocese of Kodamangalam, was the professor at the Center for Historical Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Molding and advising our institutions in unimaginable ways, Reverend Monsignor has been an exemplary mentor to us. With immense pleasure, I welcome our manager, Reverend Dr. Monsignor Pius Malayakandathil, to deliver the presidential address.
Dear Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraj, Advisor of NAAC, Dr. M.A. Lal, Professor Dinesh Singh, former Vice Chancellor of Delhi University and currently Chancellor of K.R. Mangalam University, Professor Thomas K.V., our Principal, Professor Emmanuel, our Vice Principal, Dr. Soni Kuriakos, IQAC Coordinator of Nirmala, Dr. Kavita K.R., esteemed delegates and participants of this great seminar. A very good morning to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure to be with you this day when you are deliberating on a theme of high importance and national relevance, particularly when you are discussing on the UGC curriculum framework. You are trying to see the possibilities of curriculum designing and transactions while looking into different aspects of UGC curriculum framework. It's gratifying to see great academicians like Professor Dinesh Singh and Dr. Ponmudiraj and many other eminent scholars and experts are here to look at this theme from different perspectives and angles. It's high time that we should think about the different nuances and possibilities of NEP and then incorporate our region-specific requirements and needs in the type of curriculum designing that we are envisaging around UGC curriculum framework. We have been trained in a system where foundational part of the knowledge of any discipline is given at the undergraduate level. The fundamentals of that subject are being given at the undergraduate level. Now we are moving into a direction where the undergraduate level is being split into different components and units, wherein 3 semesters are being set aside for common courses and 3 semesters for specialization courses and 2 semesters for research program. In the new curriculum framework, the length of time, the span of time duration devoted for specialization course is shortened to 3 semesters. Some educationists and academicians think that within 3 semesters, the fundamentals of each discipline cannot be taught to students in the way it should have been. With three semesters of training in specialization courses, one cannot go for research in the final semester and the final year. But one should also appreciate the incorporation of common course at the initial level, where the competencies of the learners are being enhanced. Skills and competencies related to critical thinking and equipping and skills and competencies that would equip the learners to come up in a much more logical and rational way to understand the discipline. That's a great move. Probably one can also think of the intellectual abilities of the learners. If mathematics becomes an integral part of common course for all the students across the disciplines, some students may find it difficult to cope with it because everybody is not endowed with mathematical mind. Every student is not equipped with philosophical mind. Every student is not equipped with the critical approach that rigorous disciplines like science demands. Meaning, there should be different approach for different disciplines for the common course instead of having one common basket for all the disciplines. Now, at this juncture of time, most of the colleges and universities are known for the type of specialization that the institution is involved in. Goa University or Pondicherry University, many of the universities have got specialized courses in maritime history and other types of disciplines, which become an integral part of the effort of education institutions to respond to the requirements of the region. So there is a region-specific requirement for a certain type of discipline, a certain type of module to appear in the curriculum in the state universities as well as in regional universities. So the problem of standardization, homogenization in specialization course is that the space for this type of region-specific requirements may be little addressed. So there should be sufficient space for region-specific courses and locality-specific programs. So the homogenization and standardization, the courses should be minimized to the level of accommodating courses that are in high demand in certain region. That would become an integral part of the education system because of the demands of the market, demands of the industry of that region, or because of socio-economic and historical reasons. I am quite sure that all the delegates and the specialists in the field, they will discuss this matter threadbare. And they will elaborate on the UGC curriculum framework and look at the theme from different perspectives and propose proper suggestions, appropriate solutions to all this so that our new educational policy may be better implemented and the UGC curriculum framework may be better implemented in all the education institutions. And the number of basket courses, there should be basket courses where option can be made by the students depending upon the specialization that they want to move towards. So at the undergraduate level, the space for specialization should also be there. So these are some of the perspectives that came to my mind as an academician and as a person who has been working in the academic institution for the last 30 years. I know that, and I'm quite sure that all the great academicians and experts in the field, they will look at the UGC curriculum framework from different perspectives so that we may be able to resolve and find different ways and alternative methods of incorporating all the suggestions and the new educational policy so that at the implementation level, everything is being taken care of. So I thank all of you for being there to enrich the deliberations. I congratulate Nirmala College, the principal and the team, Dr. Soni Kuriakos and the team, for having organized this excellent webinar, for having brought together the specialists and experts in the field, so that we may have a great and fruitful deliberation on this subject. So wish you all the best and have a fruitful day. With these good wishes, I remain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Monsignor. Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraj, Senior Advisor, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, Bangalore, has been an inseparable part of the Council, a part of all the reforms and policies that the Council underwent. Sir has published many important reports of higher education and several important policy documents of NAAC. Sir has also been one of the chief architects in the designing of the NAAC manual. It is indeed Nirmala's privilege to receive him today to be the inaugurator of the NAAC-sponsored two-day virtual national conference on curriculum designing and transactions under the proposed UGC curriculum framework. With immense pleasure, I welcome Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraj, Senior Advisor, NAAC, to deliver the inaugural address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Most Honorable Minister for Higher Education, Dr. R. Bindu, Government of Kerala, our former EC Chairman, Professor Dinesh Singh, Padma Shri, former Vice Chancellor of University of Delhi, Monsignor Dr. Pais was earlier with the JNU, and the principal of the college, Dr. K.V. Thomas, the coordinator, Dr. Soni Kuriakos, the conveners of the program, and my fellow speakers. We wish, on behalf of everyone, along with my colleagues here, I learned that there are more than 800 people online for this NAAC-sponsored two-day virtual national curriculum conference, national conference on the curriculum designing transaction based on UGC curricular framework. And on behalf, as informed by the messages, Honorable Minister, Dr. Mrs. R. Bindu, Government of Kerala, for higher education, the inaugural address, I wanted to say just a couple of things and go back. One is 1975, the National Council for Educational Research and Training. They had the complete curricular framework for the school education. Very important. When you talk about tertiary education, higher education, further higher education on curriculum, very important we understand the base for our school education system in our country. Then that came with 1988. It's a very interesting document if we could touch and see what is the design part, what is the need part, why there is a need analysis, why there has to be an assessment, what is the aims and objectives. Then they go to the content, matter, delivery part, pedagogy per se, then comes feedback and analysis. In the National Assessment Accreditation Council, we separated the 7 criteria. The first 3 talks about the academic parameters. We separate the curriculum, we separate the teaching learning, then evaluation, then we come into research, innovations and extension. Whereas all the models you take AMLA model or any model of curriculum. When we talk about the curricular formation, 2000 and 2005 of the National Curricular Framework of the NCERT documents, very categorically, beautifully, Government of India's documents spells out these things. There are two things very important when you talk about LOCF, especially people talk about on the last observation carried forward or learning outcome-based curriculum framework. Now, very interesting is the National Education Policy 2020. When we talk about the 4-year undergraduate program, so people had a lot of feedback. I'll say not criticism, positive feedback. Whenever the CBC has the choice-based credit system or the cafeteria approach or the semester system was introduced, people say 180, a big size of cake cut it into 2, 180 divided by 2 is 90. Then they talk about the small things. That is what people talked about: trimester, semester, and annual pattern of teaching. Basically, people who are live in the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, as well as online on the same platform, we all understand that it is not so. It's a module, it's a capsule. When you make a capsule of the course of the curriculum, then it's all unitized. It is not 180 days into 90 semester, then MSc Chemistry or MSc Mathematics, 4 semesters, each semester 10, 40 courses, and each courses will not have links, all are hanging like that. So when you come to the NEP, when you talk about the 4-year undergraduate program or the UGC model curriculum framework, I would like to draw your attention on 1956 of the UGC document by Dr. S.R. Ranganathan on the library and information sciences, a wonderful document under his chairmanship, the father of library information sciences. Then there was another committee, 2 committees were there, especially on the UGC model curriculum under 2 different chairmen subsequently. Very interesting documents are available on the UGC website. One on 1957, again, the latest on the library science, which they talk about subject-wise UGC model curriculum, very important. So these old documents form a good base. I'm trying to talk about the past because the NEP 2020 to take off for the NCF and the model curriculum and the 4-year undergraduate program, we in government of Karnataka, already the first state to implement. Now people with 3-4 colleges coming to the autonomous colleges, they were trying to put together for BSc Mathematics, BA History, Economic, Political Science, how to make elongate all autonomous colleges. Then the government of Karnataka is having consultations with the Honorable Minister to take it forward. So we should go into the basics of curriculum design and development. When we talk about curriculum, everybody as colleagues, we all understand Kure in Latin, that means we run a program. We run a program. We earn a credit. So everybody as seniors, we all understand this. Very interesting is the base of the curriculum design and the development based on the modules or the models, the basic 4 components people talk about. If you do a lot of literature survey, is there one of the very famous document on Sage Publications very recently has come out with 7 components of curriculum design and development. It's a very interesting article. So I was very happy to know that Government of Kerala is implementing it, and all the colleges, autonomous colleges and the universities put together, when they make this, the curriculum, you can take the base, commonality and the uniqueness of the region. Very important. When we gave autonomous colleges with the UGC, the concept, everybody is aware of the autonomous. Why there should be the graduate attributes or the learning outcomes or the program specific outcomes or program outcomes or the course outcomes or the module outcomes for under the same university for an affiliated colleges need not be same, at least at the macro level. At least at the macro level, if it is same, at the minute level need not be same. If that is the case, when the model curriculum is given, UGC proposed curriculum framework is given, the intricacies of each curriculum. Being a mathematician, BSc, the statistic person, I can talk about my subject, about the statistical, the statistical papers of MSc Statistics or an integrated OR, MSc OR, Operation Research, how the curriculum framework should be there, what are the courses, how the courses is modularized, how you map it across the learning outcomes. So this is all at the macro level. At the inaugural address, I would like to say the people, legendary people you have invited, including our former chairman, Professor Dinesh Singh Saab is there. So we, Namaskar ji, and other people, the experts will deliberate minutely on the curricular framework and the proceedings. Hope it will be circulated well across the state as well as to others. With these few words, I once again thank the organizers for inviting me and the conveners, Dr. Soni Kuriakus, our IQAC coordinator, the principal, Dr. K.V. Thomas, Reverend Dr. Monsignor, Paul and other people from the management, all the people who are live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and the Zoom platform, and the people who are live there sitting on a hybrid board, and my fellow colleagues. On behalf of the Honorable Minister, I inaugurate this 2 days virtual seminar. I thank my director, Professor S.C. Sharma, for permitting me to address the gathering. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. We do understand how important the process is for any academic institution for its growth and visibility in the society. And it is with this intention that we organize the conference, and we know there cannot be a person more appropriate than Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraj to inaugurate the conference. So thank you so much, sir, for your presence and your words. Thanks a lot. We are moving to a significant session of the day, which is the keynote session. And the keynote speaker for the day, Professor Dinesh Singh, an eminent Indian professor of mathematics, and he was the 21st Vice Chancellor of the University of Delhi, a distinguished fellow of Hackspace at Imperial College London, and has been an adjunct professor of mathematics at the University of Houston, Texas, USA. For his services to the nation, he was conferred with the Padma Shri Award by the Republic of India, and currently he is the Chancellor of K.R. Mangalam University, Gurgaon. His profile itself speaks volumes of the person that he is, drawing in the multi-hyphenated achievements and accolades he has made in academics. I very humbly call upon Professor Dinesh Singh to talk on 4-year undergraduate program, prospects and challenges. Welcome you, sir. Sir, can you kindly unmute your mic? Yeah. Yes, sir, yes.
Thank you. Reverend Monsignor Dr. Paes, Dr. Ponmudiraj, Dr. Thomas, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored and privileged to be asked to speak today. I heard Reverend Dr. Paes speak. I also heard the Honorable Advisor to NAAC speak. And I realized there is very little left for me to say. I almost feel like the junior judge on a 3-judge bench, and the senior judges have already pronounced judgment. And my job is very easy. All I have to say is I agree. But Thomas, Dr. Thomas, I always call him Thomas. He has been my student. Thomas will never forgive me for letting him down. And I realize I need to say something. I am honored and humbled that I've been asked to speak in this August gathering on the 4-year undergraduate program. I speak with a certain degree of experience because the new national education policy is at the higher education level is almost a verbatim reproduction of what we did at the University of Delhi in the year 2013 when we launched the 4-year undergraduate program. And it may be worth my while, and hopefully yours too, if I can recount the founding ideas that drove us to bring about this change. And to do that, I need to speak sometimes as a mathematician. Thomas will know this, and I'm sure others too will understand this, but Thomas, being a mathematician himself, would understand that in mathematics, before we begin a discussion on any theme or topic, we define clearly our concepts. And then we illustrate with some examples. And so I'm compelled to define education. And I have a very simple definition, and believe me, there is nothing new that I offer here. Whatever I have to say has come to me from beings, personalities over time, from since before the time of Jesus Christ and after his time. And I'm just repeating what I have digested from these great souls. So my definition of education, as I understand it, is a search within each one of us. To be educated has to delve inside. And I believe that each one of us is born with a drumbeat within. In Hindi, the word is antardhwani, the drumbeat within. And our job is to discover this drumbeat, that which resounds within us, that propels us, that drives our actions in the world. And if we discover this drumbeat, that doesn't mean we are educated. Education is a lifelong process. It will take us a lifetime to even begin to start getting educated, leave alone being educated. But it is important for us to discover this drumbeat and then march in harmony with this drumbeat. And when you start doing that, that's when you start getting educated. That's my definition. And let me illustrate what I mean by this drumbeat. And I'll give you some interesting examples. Mahatma Gandhi, at a very young age, when he was probably 8 or 9 years of age, discovered this drumbeat. It was this calling to adhere to the truth. He discovered that truth is what resonates inside him, that is what is propelling him in life. And then if you look at Gandhiji's life, his entire life is nothing but a search for the truth and marching in harmony with what he understood to be the truth. That's all he did, all his actions, whether he fought for freedom, whether he wanted emancipation of the poor, whether he wanted emancipation of the women, whether he wanted you to spin the charkha, everything is a consequence of the way he understood truth. And if you look carefully, I have not talked of any institution with my definition, no degree, no qualification. Education transcends all this. So Gandhi in particular had no university degree. People are under the mistaken notion that he had a law degree. He did not. All he did was he qualified to practice as a barrister, for which he had to do nothing but be present in London for 3 years consecutively, attend one annual dinner each year, and sit for an exam in which no one failed. That was all. There were no classes, there was no teaching, nothing. It's like qualifying for a chartered accountant. That doesn't belittle the qualification, but all I'm trying to tell you is that he had no degree. And yet, which one of us will not concede that Mahatma Gandhi was highly educated? He was the father of the nation. He gave us so much. He set up a university. He set up a polytechnic for women. He ran 2 schools personally. You look at Sachin Tendulkar. Again, I think around 10 years of age, he discovered his drumbeat, which was to adhere to the business of playing cricket. And once he discovered this inner calling, he began to march in harmony with this drumbeat. So all your actions in life, when I say march in harmony with the drumbeat, all I mean is your actions in life must be in tune, in step with the drumbeat inside you. Gandhiji's life is like that. Tendulkar's life is like that. He then begins to play cricket at the age of 10 onwards. And to the exclusion of everything else, he focuses on being true to his inner calling, his drumbeat, and he marches in step with that. Again, he is a Bharat Ratna. Which one of us will say Tendulkar is not highly educated, highly cultured? There is so much wisdom. I have not seen him do anything that could be termed dishonorable. I have never seen him say anything that is intemperate. I have never seen him lose his temper. What a role model. And again, Tendulkar has no degree. He could barely pass high school. My third example is Michael Faraday, one of the greatest scientists the world has ever known. And Faraday could not even finish grade 2 in school. Yet, he discovered his drumbeat, the business of adhering to science, to physics, to chemistry. And once he discovered this as a child, in his teenage years actually, early teenage, then to the exclusion of everything else, he focuses on understanding, being true to science. All his life after that is this business of being a good scientist, that is marching in harmony with his drumbeat. He was certainly highly educated, the greatest scientist of his age and one of the greatest of all ages, yet no degree. So be sure that you're not necessary that you have a degree. The important thing is to discover your drumbeat. But remember this, for us ordinary people, it is important for us to figure out how we can discover this drumbeat. And to do that, we need to be exposed to a bunch of drumbeats that exist around us. After all, Gandhiji discovered his drumbeat at that age of 8 or 9 years when he went to watch this play, Satyavadi Raja Harishchandra, the story of the king Harishchandra, whose life exemplifies adherence to the truth no matter what the cost. That is what awakened Gandhiji's drumbeat. With Tendulkar, it so happened that prior to playing cricket, he was interested in ping pong. But suddenly when he saw people playing cricket, something awoke inside him. So there was this external stimulus that exposed him to cricket, and then his drumbeat was aroused, and the rest of his life is nothing but adherence to this drumbeat, being in step. And the same is true of Michael Faraday. He was apprenticed to a bookbinder. As luck would have it, the bookbinder used to get books to bind, which were also books on science. And Faraday, being a good bookbinder, would go through the pages to make sure they are properly aligned. And therefore, he would be able to read some pages, and that's when his drumbeat was aroused. So there was this external stimulus. Faraday, Tendulkar, Gandhi had 3 different drumbeat exposures from an external stimulus that awakened their drumbeats within. Ordinary folks like us need to have a whole plethora of drumbeats around us that will allow us to taste, to experience, to hark to various drumbeats till one of them will awaken our drumbeat. Let me draw an analogy. For those who have studied science, this will be pretty clear. But if you know what a tuning fork is, it's a metal device, a fork-like structure with thick steel construction. And if you bang it against the edge of a hard wooden table, it emits a sound, a humming sound. You take two different tuning forks, they will emit two different frequencies. Now, what I like in this drum beat too is something like the harmonious sound of a tuning fork. We don't know what this is until there is an external humming sound from a tuning fork. When you bring two tuning forks together, and if they are in harmony, there will be a very melodious sound, else there is complete disharmony, and you will not be able to bear the sound. In exactly the same way, when you get exposed to different drum beats, there will be disharmony or discordant notes until at some stage you find something that resonates within you and there is harmony, and that sparks your journey in life. And therefore, how do we do this? The challenge for an educational institution, remember my definition of education, to allow each one of us to delve within, it's a journey of the self. Delve within, discover this drumbeat and march in harmony, and that can only be done when you are exposed to various drumbeats, and then one of them resonates with you and it sparks your journey, just as it happened to Gandhi, Tendulkar, and Faraday. So what must an educational institution do? Its job is to build the curriculum in such a way that you try and create a whole library of drum beats. And now let me be a little more clear. How do you do that? You build your curriculum around the needs and challenges and activities of the nation and of society. If you do that, then there will be various drum beats within. Some may like cricket, some may like science, some may like something. So an institution, a curriculum, a policy must allow this business of creating a whole library of offerings of drum beats. That's why you need to build your curriculum. But then let me also tell you, the mistake we make is that sometimes we put the cart before the horse. And we say, let's have a 4-year program or a 3-year program or a multiple exit choice. Don't do that. Don't put the cart before the horse. Let's just see how we could educate a young mind. And believe me, I'm not going to take more than 10 minutes, but let me try and enunciate to you what we did at Delhi University, and which is now essentially the national education policy. So we took the first-year undergraduates who had just entered college and exposed them through a bunch of curricular offerings to the needs and challenges of the nation, of society, of our existence locally. And to do that, you need a certain degree of hands-on project work. One of the biggest mistakes that we in India have done in the last 100 years, or even more, is to build all our so-called learning models around the blackboard and the classroom. We need to get out of that. And the national education policy for the 4-year undergraduate program is repeatedly telling us to get out of the classroom, to diminish the importance of the blackboard and allow our students to engage with things in the real world around us through the curriculum. So it could be climate change, it could be slum development, it could be agricultural activity, it could be anything. It could be renewable energy, it could be anything. Build your history, economics, mathematics, physics, everything around these needs and challenges. So in the first year, try and make it as transdisciplinary as you can, as hands-on as you can, make it project-based and allow students to work in groups. And much learning happens when the teacher, to a significant extent, recedes into being a mentor and not someone who writes all the time on the blackboard or who dictates notes. That is what the national education policy is telling us repeatedly. So what do I mean? Let me illustrate with some simple examples. All of us learn Mendel's laws on genetics, all of us. In school and even in college, so many of us are taught the law. I have yet to see a single practical demonstration of the law. And believe me, it is so simple that any student who has crossed the 12th grade, if he is in college, can work in a group and devise simple experiments that will help him see the law in action. Now, is this only meant for botanists? No. It is also meant for mathematicians, for statisticians. It is also meant for historians because there is history behind the law. It is also meant for people in literature because then they have to learn language and express the story of how Mendel, this supreme teacher, who has transformed the 21st century because of the laws of genetics, failed to qualify as a teacher, school teacher repeatedly, this supreme teacher. And I will come to something about testing also. So learn to work in groups around the needs and challenges of society, and genetics is a great need for society. Because of genetics, because of the discovery of genes, because of the DNA and RNA discovery, could we curb the pandemic COVID? The mRNA vaccines are state-of-the-art vaccines that have revolutionized the way we can treat viral infections. And that has happened really because of Mendel. Let students work in groups along these things, and gradually some will begin to like genetics, some will begin to like maths or statistics, some will like computer science, because you're required here also to simulate the experiments through good coding and good artificial intelligence and handling of data. So that is what I mean. The other thing I must stress repeatedly, when I mentioned that the blackboard has come to dominate Indian education systems, see what Rabindranath Tagore says more than 100 years ago. What does he say? He says that education has now become confined to the blackboard and the classroom, and it excludes the world around us, and it is harming our young. Mahatma Gandhi repeatedly says this. He says that in education, what you do with your hands will enter your heart. And yet we are repeatedly doing this, writing on the board and giving notes. Believe me, in mathematics, the more you connect it to the world, Newton discovered calculus through applications of mathematics in action in the real world. India needs to create good fighter jets. We teach, Thomas has learned fluid dynamics. We teach it all the time in every IIT, every university. I have yet to see one single university contribute in any way to building a fighter plane using the fluid dynamics, because it is always taught only on the blackboard and there are no real world computer-based simulations, anything that could be done with them. That is the need of the hour. And let me emphasize this business of using your hands, any person that you admire, and I have created a whole list of people I've admired. Christ, the Son of God, he was apprenticed as a carpenter to his father. The use of hands. Guru Nanak would insist that everyone must work in the agricultural fields with him if they wanted to be his disciple. Paigambar Sahab was a herdsman. Kabir was a weaver. Mahatma Gandhi used to spin the charkha. Michael Faraday was a bookbinder. Mendel was good at gardening and knew mathematics and botany. That is why he could discover the laws. Darwin, Newton, all of them. Einstein, very few people know this, that Einstein worked on the shop floor of his father's factory, electrical goods factory, where he played around with electromagnets, and that is how his mind was sparked with relativity. More importantly, after his PhD in physics, he almost gave up his career in physics because he was managing his father's factory. And he was doing a good job of it. And very few people know that he was very good with his hands. He holds the world's first patent on the first automatic camera in the world. He also invented the first safe modern refrigerator. He had more than 50 patents and inventions to his credit using his hands. Relativity was different. Let our institutions understand this transdisciplinarity. Let them understand that there has to be projects around the needs and challenges of the world. Let people find their way through this through hands-on activity. Excuse me. And let them move forward and then find their way by becoming more and more specialized. And there is research that begins to happen right at the first year level. Believe me, we had this at the University of Delhi. More importantly, there is also ample room for entrepreneurship. Let this world, let this country, let our colleges and universities understand that knowledge without action is meaningless. And let me emphasize, at the height of the pandemic, the University of Houston, where I have held an adjunct professorship now for more than 25 years, that university contributed more than $7 billion to the economic well-being of the city of Houston at the height of the pandemic. Stanford University contributed in 2012, they estimated the economic might of all the startups around the campus of Stanford, which have come from Stanford directly, as having more than $3 trillion value, 2012. Just think about it. The campus around Cambridge University is the fastest growing economic region of all of Great Britain. And ask ourselves, in what way are our institutions allowing this? Hardly anything. We need to change our mindset. We must not be only job seekers, we must also be job creators. And through entrepreneurship, invention, innovation, we can bring about a sea change. My final thing, I know this is not the time and place for me to enunciate the whole policy, but understand this. Let us learn to give flexibility. That's the need of the hour, and the policy shouts from the rooftops, make things flexible. We allowed students to go out after 1 year with a certificate, after 2 years at Delhi University with a diploma, and they can come back within 10 years and complete this. 3 years, you get a bachelor's degree with a subject major. 4th year, you get into more focus, because by then you've really found your drumbeat. You get an honors degree with research, entrepreneurship, extra specialization. And finally, my last thing, India is becoming a huge examination center. I worry that if you look at India from outer space, it will look like one big examination center. We use our exams to disable our students. We do not understand that exams are a device to enable, not disable. I don't see any great academic insight, experimentation, scholarship into how we should use exams. Look at the way Isa Masih did it. Look at how he examined his disciples. Look at the way the Upanishads teach us. Look at the way Kabir asked. Look at the way Gandhi examined. Let India take the lead in good, enlightened examinations so that our students enjoy the process. We ran many experiments at Delhi University. If someday Thomas still thinks that he made the right decision by asking me to give this keynote address, I will be happy to come over as a humble learner and sit with you and experiment on examinations. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Professor Dinesh Singh, sir, we can't thank you enough for that extensive discourse and the intellectual feast you just offered us. Nirmala College forever will be grateful to your genial gesture. Thank you so much, sir. And now, to make gratitudes more formal and marked, I invite the coordinator of the Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Nirmala College, Dr. Sonia Kuriakose, whom with his team, together with our principal and vice principal here, strives hard enough to get Nirmala counted among the best higher educational institution of the country. Inviting Dr. Sonia Kuriakose, IQAC coordinator of Nirmala College, to make a very hearty note of thanks.
Respected President of the function, Reverend Dr. Monsignor Pius Malakandathil, Dr. B.S. Ponmuraj, Senior Advisor of NAAC, Professor Dinesh Singh, former Vice Chancellor of University of Delhi, Dr. M.A. Lal, representing State Level Quality Assurance Cell, Government of Kerala, Dr. Thomas K.V., our Principal, Professor Emmanuel A.J., Vice Principal, Father Francis Kannadan, Bursar of the college, Dr. Dinu Alexander and Dr. Jasmine Jos, conveners of this conference, and other learned delegates and participants attending this conference on curriculum designing and transactions under the proposed UGC framework. Dr. Thomas KV, our principal, has earlier spoke about the context of the scenario in which the college has initiated this particular conference. We all know that almost all universities in India have been in the process of making their curriculum in tune with the requirements specified or stipulated in the National Education Policy 2020. So the IQAC of this college is very happy. We are very happy that we could come up with a conference on this relevant theme at this point of time. So with this very short note, let me move on to my duty. The president of the function, Reverend Dr. Pius Malakandathil, our manager of the college, he always motivates the college authorities and the IQAC team to organize conferences, workshops on contemporary themes related to higher education and also themes related to quality improvement and quality sustenance. I thank our manager for his gracious presence in this program. And we have just witnessed or experienced a scholarly keynote address of Professor Dinesh Singh, the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Delhi. And he has properly explained the educational philosophy behind the national, the proposed UGC curriculum framework. We all must have gone through the policy documents, but it is very difficult to extract the basic philosophy, the educational philosophy underlying the policy document. He has properly explained that, and we cannot get a better person to speak on this particular issue. We know that he is a regular columnist in national dailies and a most wanted face in national channels on discussions related to higher education. And he has evaluated the pros and cons of the proposed UGC curriculum framework, and he has provided a roadmap on how it can be implemented in higher education institutions to the betterment of the society. I am so thankful. The IQAC of the college is so thankful to Professor Dinesh Singh for his keynote address. Thank you, sir. I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraja sir for his inaugural address. He has conveyed the expectations of NAAC with regard to the curriculum designing and transactions. We all know that he has participated in more than 350 accreditations, and he's the trainer of assessors, not only the higher education institutions. He's the trainer of assessors. And if you go through the policy documents of NAAC displayed on the NAAC website, you can see that in the formulation of the majority of the policy documents, you can see the name of Dr. B.S. Ponmudiraj, and Nirmala College is fortunate to get him for this program. Thank you, Ponmudiraj sir. Dr. M.A. Lal, the member secretary of State Level Quality Assurance Cell, was very much instrumental in conceiving and organizing this conference. We are very fortunate to collaborate with SLQAC to organize this conference, and the collaboration really enriched the program, and also it enhanced the reach and visibility of the program. The college is thankful to SLQAC and Dr. Lal. I take this opportunity to thank our principal, Dr. Thomas KV. He was guiding the IQAC team from the selection of the conference theme to the picking of the right and exact persons for each technical session. And we know that he's a very impactful leader, and he executes everything with perfection. I thank our principal, Dr. Thomas KV. I take this opportunity to thank our Vice Principal, Professor Emmanuel AJ, for his effective leadership and intervention for the successful conduct of the program. I take this opportunity to thank our bursar, Father Francis Kannadan, for his, the financial, digital support provided for the conduct of this program. Thank you, dear Father. And I take this opportunity to thank the two conveners of this program, Dr. Dinu Alexander and Dr. Jasmine Jose. And we have a very committed organizing team consisting of Dr. Jijo Vijay, Dr. Albin Paul, Dr. Gina George, Dr. Anjali Joseph, Mr. Lindo Joseph, Prince Samuel Joseph, and Augustine Benny. Thank you. And nearly 700 participants have registered for this conference. It's a two-day national conference, and I'm thankful to the delegates also. So with this note, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
and
sir.
namaskar, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So with that, our formal inaugural ceremony ends, but without any further delay, we are moving to the first technical session of the conference. And the speaker of the session, Dr. Kavita K.R., is a registrar at Nripatinka University, Bangalore. She is a botanist and head of the Department of Botany in Nripatinka University, Bangalore. Taking the university to great and even greater heights exemplifies the efficiency of our administration, and Madam is already here. So with great pleasure, I welcome Dr. Kavita K.R., Registrar, Nripatinka University, Bangalore, to talk on the topic, Academic Bank of Credits. Welcome, ma'am.
Kavita, namaste.
Namaste. Can I start, sir? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Respected Principal Thomas K.V. of Nirmala College and Manager Dr. Pines Malek Kandatil, all the dignitaries present for this conference, IQAC coordinator, and all the participants, a very, very good morning to all of you. And at the outset, I would wish to thank the Nirmala College for giving me this opportunity to speak on something so nascent in its developmental stage, that is the Academic Bank of Credits. So I would just like to start my presentation. Is the presentation clear, sir? And full screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
So I just chose this topic, Academic Bank of Credits. Gave the title as it is demystified, because this is, I thought, a very challenging topic, and it's very important today in the context of NEP. Now I have structured my talk such that a couple of slides I will just be going through what is NEP and the paradigm shift that's happening in the higher education scenario, so that sets the context of why ABC and what is ABC. And then, of course, then we go into the salient features of the ABC and how it's going to function, what are the eligibility criteria for higher education, and what is the implementation methodology, and how do we enhance the reach of ABC. This is how I have structured my talk. I think just in the morning there has been a lot of deliberation on what is the changed scenario in the entire world with respect to higher education. As all of us know, as being faculty of different universities or colleges, there is a rapid change that has taken place in the educational scenario in the last couple of decades. It has been so rapid with the emerging technologies, for example, pervasive all-pervasive artificial intelligence, and then we have nanotechnology, and then we have big data sciences, biotechnology, and the name goes endless. And with these rapid changes, there has been an increase in the demand for skilled workforce, and especially with students who have multidisciplinary abilities. So this is what is there in the world scenario, not only in terms of the employability, but also in terms of how the curriculum needs to meet this demand. Now we are all deliberating at various platforms how the curriculum has to be holistic, and then this curriculum, just as the previous speaker was just talking, it needs to have a lot of flexibility. And a curriculum now, the need of the hour is it should be arts, commerce, culture, sports. There is an integration between all this with the STEM courses that we have. So this is the need of the hour, so that the students get a wide choice when they choose their program for degrees. Now with this, there is also the need for evolving the pedagogy, because so that the education becomes more experiential, learning focused, and then it is inquiry driven, and basically this the entire education that the student undergoes should be totally enjoyable and learning centric. So this is the need of the hour. And then of course we are now at the crux of reforms, because in this education we also need to ensure that there is highest quality, and then of course equity, inclusion, integrity. And then the students are not only needed to imbibe skills and develop own up their skills with respect to life skills, or it may be with respect to employability skills, but also it is very important that we impart values and the students be rooted to the Indian knowledge system and our culture. So I think this is the need of the hour. And I just have a cartoon just to show you what this educational revolution has been in our country. For example, we have the education 1.0, where it was more of the teaching centric, where we have, I just put, the students are coming from different backgrounds, from diverse backgrounds, and then they have different capabilities and different talents. But then when they go through this education system, then all of them become, one-rounded. Or so this is like one size for all fit. Then we have the education 2.0, where again you have the learners are communicating and connecting and collaborating with each other. And then of course, now we are in the education 3.0 scenario, where we, the faculty, have just become the facilitators. And the learners or the students are more proficient in accessing information from all sources, and they are more technologically, technology has advanced so much that we are more connected to the social network, access to information, diversity of network and web. So this is a challenge now for the educators as to how we're going to facilitate these learners who have access to information and technology. So how do we hone their skills? How do we make these students more well-rounded? So in this context, I think we need to come to what the NEP has in store for us. The NEP 2020 was submitted by Kasturirangan Committee, and in 2020 July, it was approved by the Cabinet. Now, I just want to briefly outline, as all of us, of course, are aware, what are the aspirations of this NEP. The NEP actually basically envisions to revamp all the aspects of the educational structure, and the policy as such is aligned to the Sustainable Development Goal 4 of UNESCO, where there has to be a thrust or the focus on inclusion and equity. So this is one of the one of the revolutions that we are seeing in our country after more than three and a half decades. Now, if you just look into the aspirations of NEP, one of the aspirations is to create a knowledge society. So this is giving and this knowledge society is created through giving an architecture for higher education. Now, this is this is going to focus on holistic UG program, which just now Dr. Dinesh was outlining that this program is going to be a 4-year course, a 4-year degree course with the 4th year being honors. And this curriculum is set to be very, very flexible with the options of multiple entry and exit. So this gives the student more opportunity and freedom. And then the multidisciplinary institutions are now going to progress into research intensive or teaching intensive universities. And there are going to be more and more number of autonomous degree granting colleges in the future in India. So this is what the NEP aspires for. And then the governance is going to be empowered because you have more and more autonomy for all the higher education institutions. Amidst all this, there is going to be a strong focus on equity and inclusions. So these are the aspirations that the NEP has proposed or envisioned. So, and this NEP document or the policy has a lot of key recommendations. So, for example, like you have the first recommendation is that the education has to become more holistic and multidisciplinary. I would not like to go deeper into these recommendations because I will restrict my talk to academic bank of credits. So the education is set to become more multidisciplinary with flexible, innovative curriculum. And then the pedagogy has, as I was already telling you, is going to be an experiential learning process for the students. And then you don't have the summative evaluation in mind. Sir, as just now when I listened to him, he was saying that if you have to look at India, it's going to look like a huge hub of just examinations going on. So we need to slowly move away from the summative system of examination or assessment to continuous, comprehensive, formative evaluation. And this formative or evaluation has to be consistent. This is very important across the institutions and programs. And then we have the UG programs is already going to have multiple exits and entry. And then the curriculum is going to stress on the learning outcome. We have the learning outcome based education now, which is in progress now. And the last, of course, one of the important recommendations has been that we establish what is called as the academic bank of credits, which is what I'm going to just continue to share my thoughts or share information about this, because this is in a very, very initial stage. So let's just go to what is this academic bank of credits. Now we have just now I just spoke about the aspirations or the recommendations of NEP. In order to fulfill these aspirations so that holistic multidisciplinary education is imparted to all students and with a focus of major, minor disciplines, so that we promote this flexibility, the academic bank of credits has been established. The UGC Commission, in concurrence with the Ministry of Education, has devised this academic bank of credits, and it issued a regulation for establishment and operation of the academic banks of credits very recently, that is last year in July 2021, through a Gazette notification. Now, we just need to understand what this, because it's a fantastic proposition, and I think we need to implement this to take forward, to bring about seamless interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary mobility of students between higher educations or within the higher educations. So this is basically an academic service unit. And in this academic service unit, there is going to be a credit transfer mechanism. So it involves a credit transfer mechanism, which is actually online, digital, or virtual, and managed by the Ministry of Education and the UGC. Now, this ABC platform was actually developed by the National E-Governance Division of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology under the DigiLocker framework. Now, this academic bank of credit actually paves way for this mobility, which I was just talking to mobility of students between or within higher education institutions. As faculty members, we are aware that many a time students wish to join other institutions, or they drop out of institutions and they want to do courses which are other than what they have already selected, because they realize in their journey that their passion lies elsewhere. And in the present context of what we have, the education system is so rigid. So we need to break these boundaries so that the mobility of students will become very, very easy, and through a formal system. So this is what ABC aspires for, because it establishes a formal system for the mobility. And in this formal system, there are 4 important aspects. The first one is credit recognition. So when the students join a particular course, or of a program, now all of us are aware that the CBCS given by the UGC, there are credits given for each, prescribed for each course. So when the student goes through these courses, he earns these credits through the higher education institutions. And through his journey in this degree program, whether it's a PG or a UG program, these credits get accumulated and they get consolidated. So the earned credits get accumulated or consolidated. And once the earned credits are accumulated, there is the option of credit transfer. So the higher education institutions can either receive or they can transfer the credit to the individual student's account through, that's what the ABC promotes. And then finally, once the credits are accumulated and they are sufficient to earn a degree for the student can actually commute these accrued credits for fulfilling the credit requirements, and they can redeem these credits. So this is a platform now which is going to handle all these aspects, so that the students who enroll into the degree program start accumulating credits, and they can transfer or redeem credits as and when they wish. So this is very interesting actually. And then again, if you look at various other aspects of this academic bank of credits to deepen our understanding, this bank is now going to seamlessly integrate the multiple disciplines of learning and also experiences that are prescribed by the UGC. So earlier, if you look at our system, we have courses, and there may be courses which are experiential, or they may be programs which are co-curricular, extracurricular. Now, all those will come under the ambit of the credit awarding system. So this is what the academic bank of credits is going to do that. And then this bank is going to promote in achieving the desired outcomes. All of us have now been have already implemented the outcome-based education, or are in the process of implementing the outcome-based education. So here, this is an opportunity the academic bank of credits will give us, that the desired outcomes could be achieved through this banking system. And then this bank actually provides autonomy to students. See, all these years, that is in the last couple of years, I think we have all journeyed where we spoke of the institutional autonomy, and of course autonomy in terms of designing the syllabus or designing the curriculum. Now we are one step forward, where now we'll have to think of providing autonomy or freedom to the students, so that they have a wide range of courses to choose from, and the choices, and these choices are well distributed among the different higher education institutions, so that and also the flexibility of curriculum is something that the student can actually look into, because earlier I think we were all looking at designing the curriculum for the students. Now it's going to be the other way around, where the students will get this unique opportunity of designing their own curricular flexibility. Now, this academic bank of credits has been established on the lines of NAAC, that is the National Academic Depository, and it should have a dynamic website. And this website is going to provide all details of the credits and the operational mechanism. So the student has the opportunity to open individual accounts, earn and accrue the credits, and all the credits that the student has earned. And if he wants to actually encash the credits into a degree, and that will be available through what is called as the National Accreditation Credit Bank Educational Transcript. So this is another important aspect of the academic bank of credits, because it's going to issue those educational transcripts, and these transcripts will actually tell us about the grading and proficiency levels of the students and the courses that they have done. So this is basically what shall I call, say, how the academic bank of credit is sort of defined for us. Then coming on to what are the objectives of these academic bank of credits. Now, when I have actually, while I was preparing this PPT, I was just looking at how these concepts can be overlapping, that is between the definition, the objectives, the goals, the implementation. So all of them speak of the same thing, more or less. Now, the main objective of this broadly of the academic bank of credit is to promote student centricity. So these are different words that we are using now. We had the learning centric, the learner centric, now the student centric. So this bank is now going to promote the student centricity, and it's going to be very learner friendly and interdisciplinary in its approach. So what does it do? What is the main objective? The main objective is that the student will choose the path of their career. Only then it is made as, it will be a student-centric platform. So when we say choose a path, he's not only going to choose what program that he's going to take, and he's not only going to choose the courses that he is going to take in that particular program, he will also choose the program or the course to suit his ability, his aptitude, his passion, his dream, and the goals that he wants to achieve in his life. So this kind of a freedom is given to the student so that he becomes the architect of his own career. And his course is going to be tailor-made, and he himself is going to be that designer. And not only will he be able to choose these courses, the programs, he will also be able to choose where he's going to actually go to learn these courses or go to train himself. And then he can also set the pace at which he wants to complete the program or the courses. This is very interesting because depending on the logistics that he looks into, and of course the cost, he can actually set the pace, because there is this option of multiple entry and multiple exit given by the national education policy. So using that principle, he can actually set the pace of completing his degree. When he does so, that he chooses his career, he chooses his courses, he chooses his programs, and whether he's going to choose whether it's going to be an offline or an online mode is also dependent on him. So that makes his approach to the curriculum, that makes the curriculum very, very flexible, with interdisciplinarity, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary component into the curriculum. Now, in addition to choosing the course, he can also look into whether he requires to do these courses part-time or full-time mode, or formal or informal education, or through online, offline. All these concepts are going to be incorporated into the ABC. So the ABC actually considers blended learning. It is going to procedurally support the teaching learning activities that happen in a distributed and a blended way, the full-time, part-time modes. So in all, we can say that the student who actually enrolls into a degree program becomes a lifelong learner. So this is the freedom of choice actually is very pivotal to become a lifelong learner. And then the ABC platform ensures that there is going to be an integration of all the campuses that are registered under the ABC. because this integration is very important or very pivotal, because only when the institutions are integrated, the mobility within the institution or inter-institution can happen. And the student can move in and out of different institutions, choosing different courses only when there is the integration and when all the institutions which are registered are on the same page. So this is again one of the major objectives of ABC. So finally, if you look at the objectives which are formulated so beautifully, it just says that the student can learn anytime, anywhere, and do any level of learning once he is into the ABC. Then I just want to look into share what are the salient features of these of ABC. Now this ABC, as I was probably telling you, I hope I have communicated that this looks more like, as the word itself says, bank. So this looks more like on a pattern of commercial banking. So this is where the students who are the stakeholders are the individual account holders of this particular bank. So once they become individual account holders of this bank, they are given a unique ID and the access to the standard operating procedures. So it's just like, entering a bank, but only thing is it's online or virtual. And this bank is going to provide a lot of services. And these services are very important because only then the higher education institutions who have registered will be very important for the the higher education institutions are going to be well placed in the academic bank of credits because of these services. And these services include credit verification. Now, this is very important because the credits that are specified for courses by or under the program by different institutions can actually vary. And there is an important aspect where the credit should be verified whether it is in accordance to the OBE or in accordance to the CBCS UGC curriculum. So this verification is a part of the responsibility of the academic bank of credits. And of course, they also give us the service of credit accumulation because the student who has the account holder can actually check the how much credits are accumulated in his account. And the credit transfer, as I was already mentioning, the higher education institutions can actually either receive or provide these credits into the individual student bank account, so that once there are sufficient credits that are accumulated, he can go in for redemption. And then, of course, the authentication of the degree is also a part of the one of the salient features of ABC. Now, these services actually help the employers or institutions to recognize these earned credits, because when the student moves out from one institution to another institution, then the institution which receives him should be able to gauge whether the credits that he has earned in the previous institutions are credible and recognizable. Then the credits, which of course I already told you, the students who have the credits required for the award of the certification will be through the National Academic Credit Bank educational transcript, which mentions the grades and performance levels of the students. And then the required credits for the award of the degree is actually, or degree, when I say degree, it is actually, sorry, for the degree is whether it is a PG, UG, diploma, certificate, or coursework for PhD is actually prescribed by the higher education institutions. And there's another important aspect. Once the student redeems the credits for the fulfillment of a particular degree or UG, PG, diploma, whatever it is, it cannot be reused again for the award of another formal academic qualification. So this is very significant because this ensures the seamless integration of multiple disciplines of higher learning skills, experiences into the credit-based formal system through the credit recognition. And this is a significant step towards the autonomy of students. Then coming on to what are the functions of this ABC. Now, the first function is that the credits that are deposited in the academic bank of credits cannot be provided by the student. He cannot actually transfer the credits directly into the academic bank of credits. So all in all, to say that only documents submitted or transmitted from the registered higher education institutions pertaining to a course credits will be accepted by the ABC. So there is no way in which the students can actually give some document and say that I have done this course and these credits have to be deposited into my account. So it is very formally done only through the registered higher education institutions. And the ABC also functions in such a way that it ensures the opening balance of the student who actually is a part as an account holder, and the closure of academic bank accounts is overseen by the academic bank of credits. Then, of course, we already said that credit verification and degree authentication is also a part of the functions of the ABC. So ABCs shall actually deposit the credits awarded by the higher education institutions. So those higher education institutions which actually transfer or give the credit recognition of the student is deposited in the bank account of individual students of that particular institution, and the validity of those credits, of which the credits is given by the guidelines of the commission. Now, what kinds of courses, the credits that are acquired through online modes, it may be SWAYAM, NPTEL, B-Labs, etc., are also considered in the ABC. This is very interesting because this is the way in which we are going to also promote students to do online courses to acquire more skills and know more and enhance their knowledge. So credits obtained through the skill courses are also eligible for accrual and redemption. Now, in addition to this, the student is given the freedom to take additional courses which are not prescribed by the degree awarding institution, but may be necessary for his knowledge. That also can be deposited in the academic bank of credits. And there's another important thing, that the credits for the redemption of the degree is diploma PG for varying duration is subject to a maximum of 7 years, which is actually given by the higher education institutions themselves. And these credits are not limited to distance and non-contact mode, which I just told in my previously, but it also includes not only the existing pedagogical procedures or methods, but it also takes into account the futuristic teaching and learning modes. So such of those more futuristic teaching and learning modes, the credits of these can also be a part of the ABC. Then coming to the eligibility criteria of institutions, which are the institutions which actually can register under ABC? So the policy clearly defines that the institution which is going to avail this facility of ABC has to be accredited by NAAC with a minimum A, or NBA, which at least with 3 programs, or if it is less than 3 programs, each program should have a score of minimum 675 or more, or it can be a top 100, one in 100 of the NIRF ranking, or top 1000 ranking of QS and THE institutions, or it could be institutions of eminence or institution of national importance listed out by the Government of India. And also, it can also, those institutions which may be assessed and given accreditations through bodies which are going to be established by GOI from time to time. So such of those institutions can also actually enroll and register in the institutions. And there's another important thing, that the students who have enrolled into these higher education institutions which are registered should also register not only for the course but for the entire program as such. And all those students who are who have enrolled into the academic programs from 2021 to 22 are eligible for this credit transfer. And then it also mandates that the higher education institutions should have optimal infrastructure with respect to audiovisual facility, virtual classrooms, auditoriums. So these are the basic infrastructural requirements that should be met if the institution wants to avail or be a part of the ABC. And the higher education institutions, of course, may fix the course fee based on the credit. That's a part of the institution. And the higher education institutions should also have taken the approval by the statutory bodies in order to become a part of the ABC, because they have to pay a registration fee for it. And also they should have a web page on on their website with details of ABC facility guidelines and SOP. So these are some of the criteria that have been listed for becoming a part of the ABC. Then when we look into the implementing methodology, just in continuation of what was projected in the previous slide, the approval of the statutory bodies, it may be a board of governors or it may be academic council, syndicate, senate, whatever it is in the institution, they should have taken that and amend the extent ordinances relating to registration, grades, etc. And the degree that is awarded to the students in these institutions must fulfill the norms of sufficiency of total number of credits approved by the institution. And the students should be encouraged, motivated, and they should be educated how to customize the coursework so that they become the designer of their own degree courses. So this is an important journey in ABC where a lot of the awareness has to be built among the student community. They'll have to be guided regarding the services that are there for ABC, and they should also be hand-holding them so that they know to operate those accounts. And once they know how to customize the coursework, the component of flexibility in the program is also going to be a choice for the program. And one important thing is that when the student is awarded the degree, suppose he moves from higher education institution A to another institution B, then in the institution where he has earned 50% or more credits becomes the institution for awarding the degree. And this is a very important component, because where many a time probably the student may have completed the coursework more than 50% in an institution or say in a particular college, autonomous college, and then he may want to do additional courses in IIT, and then the IIT will not give him or award the degree for him because the institution where he has completed more than 50% of the course is going to be the degree awarding institution. This is very important. And all higher education institutions will of course have to follow the norms and guidelines of CBCS and the OBE curriculum framework. Now, to enhance the reach of the academic bank of credits, there are a couple of steps that have been given by the UGC in their document, which says that the institution has to register on this particular ABC website, and the data of the students, their credits obtained particularly during the 21-22, because that's when ABC came into existence. This has to be uploaded, and then the process, as I already spoke, there is a massive education that has to be done to the students. Hand-holding has to be done, and there is a hyperlink which is provided, which has to be provided on the institution's website homepage. And then every student will be given a unique ID, which is his as an account holder, and this is called the ABC ID. And this ABC ID will have to go into all the examination forms and other formats that he will be submitting to the university henceforth. Then when you come to monitoring, support, and quality assurance with respect to ABC, now it becomes very important that the higher education institutions actually monitor the development and the operationalization of ABC platform. So we need more of the staff training And I'm very impressed that Nirmala College has taken this initiative of creating this awareness about ABC, which is very important today. And so mentoring, academic and administrative auditing is very important. Faculty, more of faculty development programs for improvement of quality, because when we want to offer more and more courses and in diverse fields to bring multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary concept into the education, FDP programs are very important, and technology inculcation programs are important. And it's very obvious that IQAC, which has been there for more than a decade now, plays a very important role in these institutions. And most important is, as soon as we are registered into the ABC, it is also mandatory that we also have a grievance redressal mechanism with respect to the ABC. So I think I have come to the end of my talk, and I think there are 3 key takeaways from what I see, because as I told you, I'm just sharing whatever knowledge I have about ABC, because Karnataka happened to be the first state to implement NEP. And at Nrupatunga University, where I'm a registrar, we have adopted the NEP curricular structure, and we are looking into all these things. So when I look at the key takeaways, this is a significant autonomy for students, and it's just that freedom they need to use, they need to know how to handle. And so it's the concept of anywhere, anytime, and any level of learning that the student aspires for. And there is going to be an enhanced flexibility and choice in curriculum framework. And of course, since the registered higher education institutions within the ABC digital platform are going to be seamlessly integrated for mobility of students. And slowly, once there is mobility of students, probably the higher education institutions will also introspect and roll out more and more courses to suit the needs, the demands of the students. Thank you very much for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts on, or share this space with you all about the Academic Bank of Credits. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We have a couple of queries in the chat box. Can I repeat after them?
Yes, madam.
Ma'am, the first question comes from Maya Matthew, and she asks about the registration of the students. Can the students register in one institution and choose courses from other institutions and still be monitored by this parent institution?
Yes, madam, because the number of courses that they are taking in the institution where they have enrolled for the degree becomes the institution for awarding the degree. So they will be monitoring till they complete the course. But once the courses are finished and they actually move out of the institution, we don't have to actually be monitoring them, because they will finish those courses, and then in the bank the transfer of credits will happen for and get accrued and then of course redeemed. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. And there is another question, and this comes from Sabita Thomas. How will the institutions have a track of students' academic bank of credits as a time period given to students during, time period given to students to complete a specific program is extended up to even 10 years?
Yes,
Hope you can read the
very
question.
very challenging and a very important question, because see, the validity is going to be 7 years, and then how are we going to monitor the mobility and then just track where the students are going, because after nearly 6.5 years they may come back seeking for awarding the degree. This is really challenging. I think in the coming days these things will become more clearer, because we have also not registered as of now, and once we register into the portal, these things will be spelled out better, because right now this is the information that is there, and it's been debated everywhere.
A few more queries. Madam, this comes from Sri Lakshmi. After registering in one institution and gaining more credits from other institution, what about their certificates?
Yeah, the certificates will be provided. See, if you look
Slowly.
at the degree being awarded, may I just have clarity? Because if you're looking at, see, for example, if the student exits that particular program in the first year, there's just going to be one certificate. And in the second year, it's going to be a diploma. So those certificates and diploma will be issued wherever he has done. But if you're looking at the entire program with respect to awarding a degree, then it comes to calculating the percentage of credits earned in that particular institution.
Next question. In this flexible system, what is the role and position of the university and college as there is the transfer of credits?
If you are looking at college under affiliating system or autonomous, because right now it's the autonomous institutions which are registered in this, and it is once it is autonomous, they are obviously the degree awarding institutions. So when it comes to the university, of course, yeah, I'm sorry, there's a small glitch in the network. So when it comes to the autonomous institutions, it's very easy. But when it comes to the relationship between them is again something that has to be seen how the bank actually works.
Another question, will the certificate provided by the college from which the student completes 50% of the course be equivalent to a university degree certificate?
Yeah, because since, we should understand that the college that provides a certificate, we are talking in terms of awarding a degree. I think there is a small communication here, gap, I think. See, if a student chooses to study in a particular college where he earns 50% of the credits, that college is going to award his degree. So that degree certificate is going to be given by him. The other colleges where he is going to only do rest of the courses, he only earns the credits, that's all. There's no certificate there.
If a student can get credits through different channels, say by science, arts, commerce, as it is accumulated in the bank of credits, what will be the final degree awarded?
Yeah, this is very interesting because then we'll have to look into this concept of under NEP, where they speak of major subjects, minor subjects, and of course you have discipline-specific electives, open electives, then we have skill, ability enhancement courses. So there are various components to the curricular structure. So wherever he has done, suppose he has done the arts course, if the number of credits are fitting into it's open elective, then that is of course what is taken. But one thing is very clear in the academic bank of credits, you will have to conform to the major and the minors. So they'll have to do their regular program of major and minor. In addition, you can of course acquire any number of credits in any of the streams, but whichever his major subject is, that is the nomenclature of his degree.
Can a student from an institution that is not accredited with A register in academic credit bank?
As of now, the regulation doesn't say they can register. Probably in the coming years, they will have to look into this. Right now, it's not an option for them.
Yeah. Next question seems to be a little lengthy. The proposed NEP and academic credit bank that you spoke about give much autonomy to the students to create their career path, which is well appreciated. But my concern is with the degree of autonomy which is given to autonomous colleges in Kerala. The universities in Kerala allow the autonomous colleges to change only 20% of the proposed curriculum. How can the colleges enjoy the power of autonomy to design new courses or redesign the existing one in line with the changing situations?
Yeah, this is a very challenging and interesting question, because when I was a part of the autonomy in our institution. So initially, this is what is spoken about, where only 20% of change can be done. And there is, if I may add, when we are looking at the NEP curriculum, at least in Karnataka, now we have a common syllabus for the entire students. So in this common syllabus, how much of change can be incorporated and what flexibility can be given is also a possibility. Maybe directly in the syllabus, you may not be able to bring about changes, but there are other courses and certificate courses and discipline electives, open electives, which you can offer the students, that gives them this flexibility. Maybe the major subjects and the minor that he chooses. Because now what we are following here is we have two major programs, or we have that is dual major programs, or we have a major and a minor program. So, or a three major programs. So there are different programs that we are the curricular structure gives out. But these majors have to be constantly uniform. Only then the academic bank of credits can become functional. Yes, I can understand that only 20% flexibility. This is not a rule as such, but then to revamp the syllabus totally is also not a possibility, given the amount of fundamentals that we'll have to teach whichever subject it is.
There are many self-financing colleges in Kerala working without having proper accreditation. What is the scope of such institutions after implementing academic credit banking?
Now, I think we are in a very challenging scenario, because it's becoming more of a survival of institutions. We have to ensure that the institutions go into the accreditations. This is the only way out that I see, because in Karnataka also we have so many colleges which have not gone for accreditations. But then when we want to attract students and make the education very relevant for them, we'll have to go for accreditations. That's the only way out.
Will courses taken from other institutions that are radically different from the program considered?
Yes, it should be considered. There is that opportunity and freedom is there. It will definitely be considered, irrespective of what the program is. It may be radically different from the subject that they are pursuing.
Sir, sorry, madam, can the student choose 50% from one discipline and probably the next half from another discipline? Can the students make a choice like that?
Actually, madam, if you look into the curricular framework, there are certain major and minor courses, and these major and minor courses are for a particular number of credits. So that is mandatory. So in addition to taking up that major and minor, offhand, I can't remember what we have worked out, the number of credits that the major and the minor subjects should have per year for it. Per semester, for example, the major subjects, that is the major and the minor, should have nearly 8 credits of theory, and then of course 4 credits of practicals if it is a practical mode. So that number of credits is mandatory. So beyond that, if he wants to do anything, that is a choice for the student.
Ma'am, last question. Do we need a group of academic analysts to decide the titles of subject cleared by the student? That is, whether science, arts, etc., sometimes zoology, biotechnology, microbiology, etc., have very less margins of difference.
Yes, madam, I think she's put a very interesting question. I think we do need, because these days, sometimes, the title of the course is what is attracting students. It's like an old wine in a new bottle. Yes, we need analysts to make the title more designer, more global, actually.
Ma'am, that was not last. There is another question. Will the student finally be a jack of all trades, mastering none?
Oh God. This is a very interesting question, because no, there are two things I think for every student. One is passion, okay, and the other one is his livelihood. So how is he going to strike between these two is how I think faculty need to guide him. There may be subjects that he, out of interest and passion, he will be doing, but there is a core component which he has to mandatorily study, and that becomes his degree.
That seems to be the last of that endless queries. So thank you so much, Kavita ma'am, for that very pleasant presence on screen and that very important topic on academic credit bank. We do understand how important this aspect is of NEP 2020, how flexible this process of learning can get, which enable the learners to determine and control the pace of their learning. So thank you so much, madam. For a more formal vote of thanks, I welcome Dr. Rajesh Kumar B., Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, Nirmala College, Muvatuvura. Welcome, sir.
Honorable Speaker of this session, Dr. Kavita K.R., Registrar, Nirbadanga University, Bangalore, and respected participants. We have just heard a highly informative talk by Dr. Kavita on academic bank of credits. As the name implies, the new education policy is in fact new to us. That is why the organizing committee of this conference decided to have some of the topics related to new education policy. And in fact, for this session, we chose the academic bank of credit. So whenever there are some changes, at first there will be some inhibition from all of us to accept it. I am sure that your doubts regarding the academic bank of credits got clarified by this excellent session given by Dr. Kavita. We are lucky to have an eminent academician and administrator to speak about this topic. She particularly stressed on objectives and functions of academic bank of credits. Ma'am, we are truly honored for your insightful lecture, and on behalf of the organizing committee and all the participants here, we express our sincere gratitude for accepting our invitation and gracing this occasion. And also, on behalf of for the participants, we are thankful for you for being live with us. So once again, I thank you all. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Have a nice day, all of you.
Next, we have a paper to be presented now, connected to the topics under discussion. Dr. Jijo VJ, Assistant Professor from the Department of Chemistry, Nirmala College, Muvatupuzha, will chair the session. I welcome Dr. Jijo to introduce the topic and the presenter. Welcome, sir.
We know that one of the main focus of NEP is on outcome-based education and to make students skillful professional. Now, outcome-based education is also very important parameter for higher education accreditation. So our next talk is on outcome-based education from Dr. Gerald Tom, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, SB College, Kerala. He will be talking on constructive alignment and outcome-based education evaluation. Sir, please.
Sir, kindly unmute your audio.
Yes. I hope my PPT is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm Gerald. I work with the St. Bergman's College, Changanasheri. As we all know, we are in the process of transiting to the new education policy, and many of us are in the process of designing and transiting to the curriculum and syllabi based on outcome-based education. And many of us are already into the task of designing syllabus and the structure of the program for the requirements of OBE. And OBE essentially is outcome based. It should be observable, it should be explicit, tangible, and
Sir,
it should.
Gerald, sir, sorry to interrupt. Can you change to slideshow, your mode?
Okay.
Change your PPT to slideshow.
Yes. So it should be observable, it should be tangible, it should be explicit, and it should assess different domains of the process of education: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains of education. Now, OBE essentially addresses program educational objectives, program learning outcomes, course learning outcomes, and unit learning outcomes. Program educational objectives are long-term goals of education, which we expect to realize within 3 to 5 years after graduation. And program learning outcome is the outcomes which are expected to realize upon graduation, and course learning outcome is expected to realize after completion of each course. And the unit learning outcome is expected to get realized after the completion of each unit. So from units to courses to programs and for program educational outcomes. So that's a hierarchy of doing it. Now, outcome-based education should have learning outcomes which are explicit, which are visible, and the alignment of the assessment with the learning outcomes is quite important. The delivery of the learning materials, resources, or the process of learning should be in alignment with the learning outcomes, and there should have infrastructure and support system, the resources, the material, the laboratory, the practical part, the assessment, the internal assessment part, the external assessment part. These support system should there to provide delivery of the teaching and learning process to which is in consistency with the learning outcomes. Now, OBE is based upon the principle of clarity. It is keeping a high expectation on the process of learning from the part of the students, and it should expand opportunity. It is essentially designing down. Designing down means we are actually designing the curriculum and syllabi based on the outcomes, and we are moving back. The conventional approach to curriculum and the process of teaching and learning is to choose a text, identify the chapters covered, develop a lecture or learning materials, and create an exam. The assessment process is at the end, and we are less concerned about whether the student has achieved a actual skill. Now in OBE, the outcomes are identified initially, and we determine the process of assessment, and we design learning activities and the curriculum to cater for the outcomes and assessment process. So we are having a bottom-up approach in OBE. So OBE begins with the end in mind, and we should do what we say and say what we do. So if you say that upon the completion of the course, the student will be able to do some task or perform some role, we are planning the process of teaching and learning to make those students to do that. Okay, so we deliver what we do in OBE. There are three key processes in OBE. The first one is establishing the intended learning outcomes, which is quite important, and this should be in consistency with the industrial requirements, with the changes in the discipline, with the standards we desire to achieve. And the second process is the designing appropriate learning and teaching activities that enable learners to meet those.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Gerald, sir, your slide remains the same. It's not changing. Can you switch to slideshow? Yes. Okay.
Yes, the second process is to design appropriate learning and teaching activities that enables the learners to meet those outcomes. It can be lectures, it can be field visits, it can be projects, it can be mini projects, it can be a host of activities, a host of process, including the end semester examination and a group of continuous and comprehensive methods of evaluation. Now, the third process is designing appropriate assessment methods through which learners can demonstrate that they have met the outcomes. So we are essentially designing a test of skill of the learners, whether they have acquired these skills after the process of learning is done. Now, constructive alignment is a concept which was developed by John Wicks. He's a Tasmanian educational psychologist, and he's also he also has the credit of developing solo taxonomy. And teaching for quality learning at university is one of his popular works in this area. Now, constructive alignment is based on the constructivist theory, which asserts that learners using their own activity construct their knowledge as interpreted through their own existing schemata. So alignment is actually the principle in curriculum theory that assessment tasks should be in alignment with what is intended to be learned. So learning outcomes and the process of learning and the process of evaluation, all these three should be in alignment. So that's essentially what constructive alignment means. So what student does, what skills they have acquired is rather more important than what is being taught or what the teacher does. Now let's go for some formal definition. Constructive alignment is a design for teaching in which what it is intended students should learn and how they should express their learning is clearly stated before teaching take place. So the intention is stated a priori. Teaching is then designed to engage students in learning activities that optimizes their chances of achieving those outcomes. So teaching and learning activities are designed keeping in mind the outcomes. And assessment tasks are designed to enable clear judgment as to how well this outcome has been attained. And see, the assessment process is not simply an examination or not simply a benchmark-based test, but it is in alignment with the intended outcomes, and it should clearly judge whether the student has attained those outcomes or not. Now, if we plot a chart of engagement, student engagement based on the teaching methods, which range from a passive level of student activity to active level of student activity, we can hierarchize the level of engagement into note-taking, memorizing, note-taking, describing, explaining, relating, applying, and theorizing. And the bottom left of this graph shows a lower level of achievement, engagement, as well as passive student activity. And as we move right to the graph, the student activity is moving from passive to active, and as we move up, the engagement level is high. So we intend to, so normatively ideal points lie in this graph, in the top right side of this graph. So if we find a gap between high level of achievement and active high level of achievement, that gap need to be addressed in our teaching and learning process. So there are three levels of thinking about teaching. In level 1, we can think of differences in learning are due to differences between students, due to cognitive differences between students because of difference in mental abilities, difference in their capabilities, difference in their intelligence or math skills. This can be one way of thinking about teaching. The other way of thinking about teaching is what the teacher is doing, rather than what the student has to deal with. So essentially, teaching is a process which is centered around teacher and design of the instructional material and the delivery of instructional material. And in the third way of doing it is what the student does and how it relates to teaching, and how the process of teaching and learning is related with what the student does, what the student perform, what the student is able to do. Now, constructive alignment is designed to elicit, decide some verbs which may be realized using large class activities or small class activities. And it can be teacher managed, peer managed, or self-managed. It can be classroom based or outside classroom, which is whichever is suitable. Now the assessment should be clearly reflecting the quality of attainment of learning outcomes. Okay, so the intended learning outcomes can be described in some certain verbs, which ranges from low hierarchical verbs to high hierarchical verbs. Low hierarchical verbs can be to describe, elaborate, or classify, and to the next level would include solve or analyze or evaluate or justify, to high hierarchical verbs like generate, create, or review things. Now, steps in constructive alignment is to define graduate attributes, to define program learning outcomes, to define course learning outcomes, and to define topic or unit learning outcomes. Program learning outcomes are statements on what skills the students will have upon graduation. So it should be in line with the program standards or professional bodies like UGC or NBA or NHA. Course learning outcomes so SMART is a norm to describe the desirable traits of a course learning outcomes. It should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be actionable, it should be relevant, and it should be time. So course learning outcomes should be SMART. Now, let's see what are the components of a course outcome. It should have an action verb. Action verb is a verb that describe what the learner will be able to do after being through the process of teaching and learning. Okay, it should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and it should be realizable in a time frame, and it should be observable. It should be brought under assessment process. Okay, so for example, describe the principle used in designing something. Evaluate the strength and weakness of some policy or some process. So here we have the terms describe, evaluate. These verbs are action verbs. Okay, so if someone is able to describe the principle of the functioning of some machine, or evaluate the strength and weakness of a policy, it is a capability, it's a skill, it's an action which a student is supposed to perform upon completion of the course. And we should avoid vague terms in describing the course outcomes. Now, now the course outcome can have a condition. Condition means how the action should be done. For example, if we are saying describe the principle used in designing X, designing some component or equipment, we are actually using a action verb only. So describe is the action verb here we have used. So the student is supposed to understand the principle of designing, let's say, some diesel engine. Okay. The second one, let's say the second one, orally describe the principle used in designing X. So there is a condition to it: orally design, orally describe, or graphically describe. So the condition is how to describe the principle, how to do it. So so if we have a verb as well as a condition attached to it, the outcome becomes more precise. Okay. Design a beam. Design a beam is a high-end question. It's an action verb, design. The second one, design a beam using Microsoft Excel design template. Okay, so we are giving a condition. The design should be made using MS Excel. Okay, so an action verb as well as a condition. Now we can prescribe a standard or a acceptable level of performance of this action. Okay, so describe the principle used in designing X, designing some equipment or machine or some process. Anyway, that's simply using an action verb. Orally describe the principle used in designing X. So we are having an action verb as well as a condition. Orally describe the 5 principles used in designing X. So we are becoming more specific. So we are moving from generally stating the outcome to being very specific. Okay, so we have set a standard. You should describe orally the 5 principles. Okay, so the 5 principles should be a predetermined standard of designing the process X. Okay, so in a similar way we can tell about the second outcome as well. Design a concrete beam. Design a concrete beam using MS Excel. Design a concrete beam using MS Excel based on some predetermined standard. So we are having an action verb, a condition, as well as a standard prescribed. Now let's see some of the common weaknesses in writing course outcomes. If the course outcomes are non-observable or non-measurable, we are left with lesser options in assessing those outcomes. Okay. For example, if you are writing understand the theory of X, know how to write an effective learning outcome, appreciate the importance of keeping the environment clean. These are actually vague outcomes. Okay, or these are too broad or too general. So we need to be very specific in defining the course outcomes. Okay, by the end of the course, the student should be able to use the computer, make presentation, comment on designs or design research. These are actually very vague course outcomes. Let's see how these can be rephrased to make them better. Okay, students will understand how to use technology effectively. So this is a very general statement. So here we haven't specified what sort of technology and at what level of understanding should the student be normatively have after completion of this course. So we can make it better. Students will be able to use word processing, spreadsheets, databases, and presentation graphics in preparing their final research project and report. So here we are very specific about the technology that the students will be taught. Okay, so it includes word processing, spreadsheets, databases, and presentation graphics. So instead of using the use of technology, we have specified what all technologies are being used. And we are also stating that in preparing their final research project and report, so they actually acquired that skill in an applicative way. Now let's see another example. Students will demonstrate knowledge of the history, literature, and function of the theater, including works from various periods and culture. So we can make better. Students will be able to explain the theoretical basis of various thematic genres and illustrate them with examples from plays of different arts. Okay, so illustrate them means you are learning to perform. Okay, so you will be able to demonstrate. You will be able to explain. Okay, so instead of having the knowledge of it, you will be able to explain it. Okay, so to explain is a performance. Acquiring a knowledge and keeping it in your mind is not an outcome. Okay, so to have the knowledge is a prerequisite, of course, but to act upon that knowledge is what required in OB. Students will be able to understand the economic environment of business. Students will be able to analyze the impact of economic environment on business. Okay, so analyzing is rather a hierarchical verb. Okay, understanding is simply grasping the idea. Analyzing means you examine and you inspect the economic environment on business in real terms. Students will be able to know the 7 steps of research process. Students will be able to describe the 7 steps of the research process and then writing a paper. Okay, knowing means you are learning. Describing is a task. Okay, to spell out in verbal terms, and we have added to use that research process when writing a paper. So it has applicative value as well. Another example, I think let's skip a couple of examples. Okay, writing the intended learning outcomes. So we should incorporate verbs in intended learning outcomes. We can use several sets of theoretical constructs which are available in the literature, and the most popular one is the Bloom's revised taxonomy. There are other taxonomies like Solo taxonomy, Krathwohl taxonomy, Simpson taxonomy. We can set some of these taxonomies as guidelines. These taxonomies are actually a set of verbs which describe actions which are arranged on the basis of hierarchy to denote the order of the process of learning, the extent to which you learn a subject. Okay, so low level verbs will be describing, identifying, or memorizing, and high end verbs will be developing or solving or creating or reflecting on what you have learned. So Bloom's taxonomy, the initial Bloom's taxonomy is like this: knowledge. So let's move from the bottom of the pyramid to the top. Knowledge, understand, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. And this taxonomy
Sir.
was revised in 2001.
Sir, please. Sir, you have 5 minutes more.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have revised the taxonomy this way: remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Okay. So let me demonstrate some examples in which these action verbs are used. Knowledge or remembering. Knowledge or remembering is recalling some information you have learned, like recalling some definitions or recalling some major ideas or dates or place or names. Okay, so it can be, a question can be write a list of vegetables. So you have learned a set of vegetables and you memorize it and recall it. Comprehension or understanding. Understanding is the second level, where you summarize, describe, interpret, or associate, or predict, or distinguish, or interpret things, compare things. Retell the story of the Rapunzel in your own words. So it is not memorize and write down the story. It's like recall and produce it in your own words. So if you have understood that story, you can reproduce in your own words. It's not like you are by hearting it and reproducing it. Now, applying can be demonstrating, calculating, solving, or relating or experimenting on some task. Make a model of a swing with paper and explain how it works. Questions for applying. Do you know of another instance where? So you are relating something what you have studied to some situation. Can you group by characteristics such as you will be able to group things based on some classification taxonomy you have already learned. Which factors would you change if? So you are essentially streamlining a policy to fit into some situation. What questions would you ask for? So if you want to question something or to inquire about something, you are essentially applying what you have learned in a real world situation, and you are normatively viewing it to make it better, or what are the issues. So if we are thinking in that way, we are essentially applying the knowledge. Now, analyzing involves ordering, explaining, connecting, classifying, arranging, and making inferences on what you have already learned. Make a family tree showing relationship. Questions for analyze: which events could not have happened? How is something similar to what? So you are contrasting something with another. Why did some changes occur? What are some of the problems of? Can you distinguish between what were some of the motives behind? What was the turning point? What was the problem with some policies? So you are essentially critically evaluating or assessing some process or policies or some mechanisms and analyzing it. Evaluation is assessing, ranking, grading, judging, comparing, summarizing. These all can be evaluating depending upon which discipline you are talking about. Some and the final one is synthesis or creating. Can you design a plan for a home? Can you see a possible solution to the problem of solid waste management? So can you devise your own way to handle a situation of managing something? Okay, so these are the very higher end questions where you essentially apply your knowledge and create something or synthesize your knowledge to produce some innovative ideas to manage some situations. So I have told you about Simpson taxonomy. This is Simpson taxonomy, and this one is Krathwohl taxonomy. These are not as popular as Weiss-Bloom's taxonomy. Weiss-Bloom's taxonomy is quite popular. So essentially, so let me conclude. Essentially, OB is a transition from grade oriented to outcome oriented, a transition from content based to ability based, and a transition from lecture centered to student centered. So let me finish my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for decoding outcome-based evaluation. The session is open for questions. If you have any comments or question, please type. You are describing in detail PLO, CLO, and TLO. Program learning outcome, course learning outcome, and topic learning outcome. Students and sometimes even teachers, they usually think it's the same. But you are describing in detail what is the peculiarity of each terms. So if there is no other question, thank you very much, sir, for this informative session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jijo sir, for being the chair of the session, and Gerald sir for the presentation. And with that, the programs of the first day of our NAAC sponsored two-day virtual national conference on curriculum designing and transactions under the proposed UGC curriculum framework end. We thank the delegates and our audience for the pleasure of their company. The third session of the conference begins at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow. There will also be a panel discussion on the topic implementation of outcome-based education in higher education institutions. We humbly remind all to join back tomorrow using the same link. Good day. Thank you.